Living Local Carolina with Katie Turner. Local trends, shopping, dining, and more. This is Living Local Carolina.
We have quite a treat today on Living Local Carolina. I am joined in studio by Salty Dogs Senior Dog Rescue. How are you guys doing?
We're awesome. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So obviously we have a very esteemed guest over here, Otis, who's sitting on the couch with us. But why don't y'all tell me first a little bit about what you do and the whole purpose behind your mission?
Sure, absolutely. We are a senior-based rescue. We only take dogs 6 and older. We get dogs from owner surrender as well as from shelters. We started in May of 22 and we are a 501c3. We are totally operated by volunteers located in Pawleys Island, but we have fosters as far north as Little River and as far south as Charleston. And then we adopt out animals out of state. We've had people come 4-6 hours just to adopt some of our senior dogs.
Okay, so senior dogs, obviously there's a specific purpose why.
My partner and I both started working in animal rescue years ago, and we noticed that the senior dogs come in and they kind of get overlooked. People are looking for puppies or younger dogs, and most of these dogs have already been in a home, so they are surrendered or dropped off at a shelter, and then they just are there kind of overwhelmed. Never been in that type of environment before. So we just felt a need to come and draw those dogs out, put them in a foster home as opposed to a shelter, and then focus more attention on them so that they get adopted.
You're closing that gap for dogs like Otis.
Yes. We enjoy what we do. We also, another thing that is important to us is estate planning. We really feel like people need to focus on what's going to happen to their animals should something happen to them. Too many people assume that family or friends are going to take their dog, and actually cats as well, and then what happens is they get dropped off at a shelter instead. So that's where we come in.
Heartbreaking. Well, tell me, what made you want to be Otis's foster mom?
So we are a senior dog household, and we adopt rescues that are seniors and typically with medical conditions. So we had an extra spot in the home, but we weren't really sure if we wanted to adopt all the way, so we thought we've always wanted to foster, and we had the opportunity, so we made the jump, and we're loving every second of it.
I love it. So what is it like getting to know these dogs during the foster process?
So initially we do have some decompression time to make sure that they're comfortable and feel safe and secure. And Otis didn't really need a lot of that time. He would rather have been with our pack, so we let him out and he just fit right in. And we've had no issues with him. He's just the sweetest, he's like the most amazing little character.
He's a good boy for sure.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I love it.
He's 7 years old. Other things that we have in our rescue, whether it's fostering like Atina does, we have volunteers who work events. Obviously people can donate, and then we also just strongly encourage people to look at adopting a senior dog, especially if they are seniors, so that they're kind of in the same playing field with the dogs. We have Facebook and Instagram and our website, and our adoptable dogs are always focused and located there.
She took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask how people could get in contact with you guys.
Yeah, saltydogsrescue.org, and then also on Facebook and Instagram.
We'll be back right after this break with more Living Local Carolina.
This story is sponsored by Mind Zero. Well, good morning, everybody. I am so excited to be at Mind Zero today, and I'm joined by Steve the athlete.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing great. Steve, you're a member here at Mind Zero, and for somebody watching right now that doesn't know what Mind Zero is, can you kind of give me a brief synopsis?
So Mind Zero is, to me, that daily vitamin that I add in. There's a 2-level to it. You have a sauna and a cold plunge. And I spend time in the sauna for approximately 10 minutes to a guided session, learning breathing techniques. And then I spend 2 minutes inside of a cold plunge, where really learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's a good way to put it. So what brought you here in the first place?
So I'm currently training for a marathon. And pushing my body, I was worried about inflammation. And I saw Mind Zero. The first class was free, so I came in and tried it out and was sold immediately. And over my time, inflammation went down, and I'm able to perform at a higher level, adding this into my life.
I think it's really cool to talk to you about the athletic part of it, because it was a physical thing for you, but also mental as well.
Correct. Learning to breathe, as they train you in any situation, breathing is extremely important. And as you learn to breathe slow, breathing into your diaphragm, getting it into your stomach, and just pausing for a moment, you learn how to relax, even in stressful situations.
So for somebody that's watching right now and is a little bit skeptical, is a little nervous to try, what would you say to a newbie?
So I remember my first session, and when I left the sauna and went into the cold plunge, first thing happens in your body is fight or flight. And flight was the first thing that came to my mind. And as I looked around the cold plunge and saw people being comfortable, uncomfortable, one of the coaches reached out and grabbed my hand, and there was an instant calm. So there's an inclusive environment here that you don't get a lot of places. So I find that to be very important to me.
Well, today we are getting messy. I am at Studio 4319. I'm with Michelle. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing a lot better now that I'm here, if I'm being honest.
Great. Well, you know.
We have had so much fun this afternoon. We have been creating and getting messy, and this is what you do every day.
Every day, all day.
All the time.
It is my favorite thing ever.
Tell me about your job and what you do.
Well, we have, it's an art studio, art playground. We have classes from 18 months all the way up to adult classes, 18 months to 101. We teach Mommy and Me classes. All of our classes are process-based art. So that means that we're not focused on the end result. We're about the process. So even with the kids, they get really stuck on that. It has to be perfect. But when you take that pressure off and say we're just focusing on the process, it takes away that perfectionist feeling, and that, you know, it's okay if it doesn't look amazing at the end, because everything that happened in the process was so much better.
That's the art.
Yes. Frame Your Beach. So this is a resin, and we used a variety of supplies. We have shells, this is some kind of jewelry string, and then epoxy resin is something that you would normally see that people are doing in molds. They go on the tumbler cups now. These things are epoxy resin. So now that will be permanently frozen in that position on your frame from the resin, because tomorrow it'll be hard as a rock.
And the mermaid cannot swim.
And the mermaid will be right there forever. And then you also made this beautiful coaster with some glitter and your name, and Miguel made this beautiful bowl that he's going to get to put up. And here's some other things that are the more traditional uses for resin in the arty and crafting world, but this is just kind of a next level, really more what I love, because it's combining the art with the resin.
This was therapeutic for me,
Very
if
much.
I'm being
Absolutely.
honest.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like you probably come across that quite a bit with people
Absolutely.
who come take classes
oh,
here.
yeah, it is very therapeutic.
Where can people find out more information about your classes?
My website is studio4319.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and my number is 843-400-3045. We have it all. It's really amazing.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today on Living Local Carolina. I love being in the studio, especially when I get to talk to authors. And I'm joined by Desiree Middleton. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Awesome.
Why don't you go ahead and tell our viewers your style of writing?
So I've recently developed a new style of writing. I'm into urban fiction novels now. I just released my second back in November of 2023, and it is a series called Married to the Enemy. It's very exciting. It gives me so much excitement because I'm able to allow my imagination to just take over and run wild. And so those two books are very much full of plot twists, full of a lot of murder mystery if you're into that. Full of all of the things that you would probably see in a Tubi movie.
I love it. You're actually the first author that I've had in here that writes that sort of mystery genre, so that's really
Yes.
interesting. Have you always been interested in this since you were a kid? I mean, you published your first book in 2019, right?
Yes, so I published my first book in 2019, and it's called Finding the Beauty in Ugly Situations. And it's more so about my life, about myself, things that I had gone through and how I still remained positive and was able to overcome those things. And then after I wrote that book, I'm like, well, there's not much else I can write about myself.
Not yet.
And so I was like, I still wanted to write, I still wanted to release books, but I was like, what else can I write about? And I started following this author named Ashley Antoinette. And she writes these books, these like urban fiction books, and I read like 3 of her series in like a month. And I was like, wait a minute, I really, really like this. Like, I can create some characters like this. And so I sat down one day and I started doing it, and it was just coming just like that. And I think the best part about it is that you can make up people. You can make your characters do what you want them to do, how you want them to do it, whatever direction you want them to go. Like, my imagination just takes over.
Oh, I love it so much. So when you talk about twists, can you give me an example, or is that giving too much away?
No, yeah, I can absolutely give you an example. So the crazy thing about the first book that I wrote, urban fiction that I wrote, Married to the Enemy, when I wrote that book, I was going through a divorce myself.
Oh.
So many people were interested in the book because they thought it was a tell-all about my marriage. So eyes were on it before the book was even completed. And so when I first released it, the book sold about 250 copies within the first 2 weeks. And that was a goal for me, one that I didn't think I was going to achieve, because I was like, wow. And it was because, everybody wanted to know, what is she going to talk about in this book? And then I think when they actually read it and realized it had nothing to do with me or my marriage, it was more like, oh, wait a minute, but it's still a good book. So one of the plot twists in the book, the series, in the first book, Melody is the main character. She's a young lawyer who is trying to find herself and trying to find her way. She meets a man, she falls in love, gets married. But in the second book, we find that Melody's perfect husband might just be the enemy.
We'll leave it at that, folks. But you are now working on another book with your daughters.
Yes.
Where can people stay updated on this sort of thing?
So I am on all social media. I am on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all under @AuthorD. And then I also have my website, which is www.authordesiree.com. And I pretty much post every day, literally, on all sites. So I'm pretty active on social media. So I normally try to keep people updated as to what I have going on through my social media sites. I actually just launched my online bookstore. And so, of course, I'm going to be selling my books through the bookstore, but I'm also going to be including other authors' pieces and works through the bookstore as well.
All right, thank you so much for joining us
Thank
today.
you for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, if you want to check out some of her books, where's that website that people can find again?
It's www.authordesiree.com.
Don't forget to like our page on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. How to use the QR code. Just open the camera app on your smartphone, iPad, or tablet. Point your device at the QR code so the QR code appears on your screen. Your device will recognize the QR code and show you a notification. Click that notification and you'll come to our website. Living Local Carolina, weekday mornings at 9:30 on WBTW News 13.